Is everybody ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to Unchained Disciples Bible Study. Tonight we're going to be looking at nightmares and evil dreams. See what the Bible says about nightmares and evil dreams. We're on our series Seeking Wholeness, looking at being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually whole. Seeking wholeness. So today we're looking at nightmares and evil dreams. I'll start off by reading Proverbs chapter 3, verse 24. It says, when I lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Proverbs 3:24. So has anybody ever had a nightmare?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's see. So do you think that Satan can cause nightmares or demons?
No,
Okay. All right.
I don't know that. Not mine.
Okay. So there's a lot of different beliefs in Christianity and in the world in general. So most evangelical Christians, which most of us are, believe that Christians can't be possessed by demons, but a lot of us still believe that Satan can influence your dreams. A lot of the charismatic and prophetic Christians, they believe that Christians can be possessed by demons, and so therefore they obviously believe that demons can influence your dreams. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So the next question, does God cause nightmares? Does God cause nightmares?
No, not my God.
No, your God. Okay, that's what most Christians would say, but we'll start right off. We'll start right off with some controversy. Chris, you got Job 33:14-18.
Yeah. Um, for God does speak now one way, now another, though man may not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men as they slumber in their beds. He may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, to turn man from wrongdoing and keep him from pride, to preserve his soul from the pit, his life from perishing by the sword.
All right. So it says that God may speak in your ear while you're dreaming and terrify you, to turn you away from bad conduct and keep you from pride. So right there is telling us that. But and so we're gonna get right off with some interesting stuff. All right, so here's a video from a guy, Prophet Lovey, that I found recently. It's kind of a, eat the meat and spit out the bones. It's not suggesting you go and follow him, but here's something he says on the topic. And he's on the charismatic side. He's on the charismatic side, someone who I assumed was going to be saying that, demons cause all of the nightmares. That was what I was expecting him to say. But he surprised me at his take on it.
I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to start just crazy from the beginning. There's no such thing as evil dreams. It doesn't exist. Doesn't. Because Satan doesn't have control of the dream realm. Satan doesn't even have control of the spiritual realm. Leave alone, Satan doesn't even have control of hell. Jesus took the keys of what? Hell, death, and the grave. The devil doesn't even have keys to his house. He's not in control. When we say God is in control, it means he's controlling everything.
Yes.
So why do we have nightmares? Why do we have bad dreams? going to tell you something and I'm going to start just crazy from the beginning.
So we'll get into the why in a little
There's no
bit.
such.
But so his take is that all dreams are from God, and that every dream is a revelation from God. And so I don't necessarily agree with all of that, but
Yeah.
welcome, David. All right, so but yeah, so we see the verse that says God can terrify you in a dream, and we know that in studying this, I've been actually studying nightmares and dreams to try to get familiar with it for the past few months, because it was kind of a different area, and I heard a lot. A lot of people believe that Satan and demons can give you nightmares, but there's not one passage, not one verse in the Bible, not one story in the Bible, not one example in the Bible of Satan or a demon interacting with someone in a dream. And and so we're going to get into it in a little bit. So some people believe that all nightmares are supernatural. All nightmares are supernatural, meaning that all nightmares are from demons. And other Christians like Lovey believe that all dreams are from God. That all dreams are from God. But my take on it is that all dreams aren't supernatural. So there's some dreams that are just natural, that are not a spirit involved. So it didn't have to be God. It didn't have to be a demon. For example, Eric, when's the last time you said you had a nightmare?
It was about a month ago. Yeah, I was watching. I fell asleep in Twilight Zone, and after Hitchcock came on, woke me up. I had left the TV on. I fell asleep.
All right, so I don't think anyone would think, oh, your camera's not on, I don't think anyone would think that, if you watch a scary movie and you have a nightmare,
Yeah.
that's a demon or that's God. Unless God telling you, hey, stop binge watching that. You need to start reading your Bible.
Yeah.
But, if you watch a scary movie and you have a nightmare, that's a natural incident. That's not, it didn't need to be some supernatural thing involved to it. There's a clear explanation. You were watching a scary movie, you had a nightmare. And so there's natural reasons that you can have nightmares. But there are supernatural reasons as well, and so we'll get into both of those. But so we'll be talking about that. We'll be looking at natural and supernatural reasons. Here's the agenda for today, the outline. Welcome, David from Trinidad. So we're going to talk about both supernatural and natural nightmares. Here's the outline. That's the introduction. We'll talk about the traits of wholeness. Then we're going to review what we've looked at, dreams so far, dreams from God, and dream interpretation. We're going to look at the definition. What are nightmares? We're going to look at what causes nightmares. Then we'll look at night terrors, which are actually different than nightmares. We'll talk about sleep paralysis again. And we're going to get into debated on whether or not to get into this, but we'll talk about sexual demonic dreams since it's a common thing. Do demons cause nightmares? Frightening dreams from God. Then we'll have a summary, and then we'll talk about solutions for nightmares. And then I'll read off some memory scriptures, some scriptures for those having nightmares. All right, that's the outline for the lesson today, outline of the lesson today. Now we'll talk about our traits of wholeness, which we're in our series, Seeking Wholeness. Seeking Wholeness, we're looking at how to be emotionally, spiritually, and mentally healthy. We want to be free from our past, free from ourselves, free from bad thinking, free from strongholds, free from the enemy. So we're talking about how to deal with life's current stresses and also how to be healed from the wounds and the situations we've had in the past. Because God promised us not just eternal life, but he also promised us joy, peace, patience, and self-control here on earth. But a lot of people don't actually experience it. So I'll review here our traits of wholeness that we've identified. These are the traits that we've looked at. And these are the traits that we're striving for. And a lot of the lessons in this series covered these. The first one is authenticity. The second is honesty, kindness, not seeking external validation or approval, living by values and principles, setting boundaries, taking ownership of your responsibilities, living with purpose and passion, optimism, confidence, having healthy relationships with others, not losing control of your emotions, being free from addictions, addressing conflict with truth and love, vulnerability, not being critical or judgmental, not being jealous of others, forgiving those who've wronged you in the past, knowing that you're worthy of receiving love, not being afraid to fail, being able to manage irrational fear, worry, and anxiety, having selfless encounters with others, not manipulating others to try to control their actions or reactions. We want to care about other people's feelings. We want to be patient, and we want to not give in to peer pressure or social pressure. We want to be able to communicate directly, not take responsibility for other people's emotions, and not expect them to take responsibility for our emotions. We want to be slow to anger. We want the ability to maturely express our wants, needs, and desires. And ultimately, the goal is to be led by the Spirit. So those are the traits of kindness that we're striving for. We've been talking about for the past couple of years. All right. Any comments for our review, what we've covered so far in dreams? No. Okay. Okay, so let's review what we've covered so far. Dreams. So we each dream every night. Each dream usually lasts between 5 to 10 minutes. Even people who claim they don't dream, you do dream, you just don't remember it. So we all dream every night unless you have some type of brain damage, like literally brain damage. But we all dream, we just don't remember our dreams, and that's by design. Dreams are stories and images that your mind creates when you sleep. They occur in your non-conscious mind. Some people say unconscious, subconscious, but non-conscious mind. Dreams they can be messages from God. So God can communicate to you through dreams. Number 2, dreams can be your unconscious mind trying to tell you something. It can be your own mind trying to tell you something. Dreams can be a window into what's on your mind. So like if you're watching a scary movie, the dream is just showing you what was on your mind. Dreams can foretell the future. You see biblical examples of dreams foretelling the future, what's going to happen in the future. Dreams are how we learn and store information. So when we sleep, our memory goes from short-term memory to, we transfer things from our short-term memory to long-term memory. So when you learn something, it actually gets stored when you sleep. And so dreams can be part of that process. Dreams also help us sort out our thoughts. So it helps you think. It helps us solve problems. We talked about many inventions that people came up with when they dreamed, such as Google, the concept for Google, Tesla's alternating current machine, the sewing machine. They all came from dreams. It could be threat simulation, your body trying to act out some dangerous situation so you'll know what to do when it happens. It can be emotional consolidation, so you're just trying to sort out your emotions. And then spiritual warfare. We'll talk about that today. Can it be spiritual warfare dreams? We also talked about the fact that how does God use dreams? So God uses dreams to warn us of negative future events. So these are examples we've seen in the Bible. In the Bible, he used dreams to warn people of negative future events. We saw Pharaoh, we saw Nebuchadnezzar, we saw Joseph, Mary's husband, the father of Jesus, got warned in a dream. God uses dreams to reveal his will and his direction. He uses dreams to reveal mysteries, to reveal things to us. God uses dreams to change your character or change your behavior, so for correction and for warning. And God uses dreams to accomplish his plan. That's one of the methods he used to get things done that he needs to get done. He also communicates to unbelievers in dreams, as we saw with Nebuchadnezzar, Pharaoh, the three wise men, and others in the Bible. All right. So some lessons that we learned last week, or in the last lesson, we looked at Joseph's dream of the sheep. Joseph had the dream that he shared with his brothers and his fathers, and they didn't like him because of it. One was the dream of the sheep and the stars bowing down. And from that, we learned the lesson that you don't want to reveal a dream prematurely. If God has given you a dream, you don't necessarily want to go and tell it to everyone, unless he's told you to specifically. Number 2, we looked at the cupbearer's dream and the baker's dream. So we looked at the dreams in the story of Joseph. When he was in prison, the cupbearer and the baker had dreams. And in Genesis 45 through 8. And what we saw there is that all interpretations come from God. So he said all interpretations come from God. And he also said each dream has its own interpretation. So what that tells us is we can't do things like using dream symbol dictionaries and Googling up, what does a red ocean mean? You can't just go Googling symbols, because the interpretation comes from God and each dream has its own interpretation. So it's unique to you. And we looked at Pharaoh's dream, Genesis 41:17-27. And from that, we gathered that God gives dreams to the person who can do something about it. So when God gave Pharaoh a dream, God gave Pharaoh a dream, he didn't give Joseph the dream. Although God walked with Joseph, God was with Joseph. Joseph had the gift of dream interpretation, he was prophetic. But God didn't give him the dream. God didn't give him the dream because he couldn't do anything about it. So God will give the dream to the person who can do something about it. We saw with Daniel, he didn't give the dream to Daniel, he gave it to Nebuchadnezzar. So if someone is coming, telling you, hey, God told me this for the country and this for this. So what you can do about it is pray. But it was like, okay, if God told you this, he probably didn't give you that dream for you to tell me. So if God is going to give the dream to someone who can do something about it, someone who's in a position to do something about it. And dreams are often given and so he gave it to the rulers even though they weren't following God. So God can use whoever he needs to communicate with. Dreams are often given in allegory and symbolism. We saw, it was the cows eating cows and things of that nature. So oftentimes dreams are in symbolism and they need to be interpreted. We talked about recurring dreams. The fact that if you have a dream that you had once and you don't get the interpretation, you can pray to God, but you can maybe let it go. But if you have a recurring dream, then it's something you want to pay attention to. So it could either be God trying to tell you something, or it can be your unconscious mind trying to tell you something. But either way, you need to pay attention to it. And we talked about steps for interpreting dreams. Steps for interpreting dreams. We said the first thing you want to do when you have a dream is to write it down. Write it down. And you write down the details of it. So write down the details of the dream. So such as what was your initial interpretation? How did you feel when the dream happened? Recall any references that happened. What were your thoughts? Pay attention to any symbols, colors, numbers, or objects. So write down all the details because the details are important. So it's not just the fact that you are riding on a bear in front of an ocean and an earthquake happened, whether if were you scared when the earthquake happened, or did you not feel scared? Because it means two different things. So like people will look up on symbol dictionaries. Oh, this means it's something bad gonna happen. It's like, but if in the dream you weren't scared at all, then that's not what it means in your specific dream. So write down, how you felt as well. And so we want to pray to God to give us the interpretation. We want to go to God. All interpretations come from God. Pray to God to give us the interpretation from the dream, and understand that find out if it was informational. Is he just giving us information, or is he giving us instructions? Is there something I'm supposed to do now that I have this? And understand that there's timing involved. So it may be, when Pharaoh had his dream, it wasn't something to do right now. It was something in the future. You're going to have 7 years of this and 7 years of that. It was preparing him for something that's coming in the future. So it wasn't something that he needed to do right now. So understand that there may be timing involved. It may not be something you need to do right now, but it could be warning you of something that's coming in the future, so you won't be scared or so you won't be prepared. All right, so that's the review. Any thoughts or comments from the review of the last 2 lessons? Oh. Okay. So we'll look to pray for Shirley Clark at the end, David. Alrighty. So we'll get into the lesson for this week. What are nightmares? What are nightmares? So nightmares are defined as dreams that produce a strong negative emotional response, such as fear or terror. So nightmares are dreams that produce a strong emotional response, such as fear or terror. It can be frightening, can be violent. Some nightmares can be sexual. So half of our dreams are negative. Half of the dreams that we have are negative, around half of them, even for emotionally healthy people. Some of the most common emotions that we experience in dreams are anxiety, fear, sadness, anger, embarrassment, and insecurity. These are common emotions that we experience in dreams: anxiety, fear, sadness, anger, embarrassment, and insecurity, with anxiety being the most common. It's the most common emotion we feel in dreams. All right. And so now we'll look at some common nightmares. So what are nightmares that people universally, so this is people no matter what religion, no matter what culture, different parts of the world, these are common across all cultures and even different times. So like 100 years ago, same dreams. So these are common nightmares that people have. Being followed or chased by a malevolent people, so bad people being followed or chased by them. A dream about falling. A dream about our partner cheating on us. A dream about fighting. A dream about death of a loved one. A dream about being humiliated in front of other people. There's some nightmares that people have. Dream about being caught in an inescapable disaster. Tornado, flood, earthquake. A lot of people dream about otherworldly beings, demons, aliens, vampires. Freddy Krueger. People dream about dark places. People dream about creepy things. People dream about being attacked. People dream about being frozen, so you can't move, being immobilized. People dream about arriving somewhere late And people dream about appearing naked, like you're all of a sudden you're somewhere and you're naked and you're embarrassed. So these are dreams that people all around the world have. These are common dreams that people all around the world have in all cultures. All right. Has anybody had any of these dreams? You don't have to tell me about it.
Probably most of them.
Most of them? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've had some of them. All right. So then we'll look. Who has nightmares? Who is it that has nightmares? Most often, children. Children have nightmares. People with mental illnesses have nightmares. People with unhealthy social lives are more likely to have nightmares. People under excessive stress have nightmares. I mean, so everybody or most people have nightmares sometime, but these are kind of more regularly. People under excessive stress and people who've been victim to some type of trauma. People have been victim to some type of trauma. These are the people that generally have nightmares. Children, people with mental illness, unhealthy social lives, or excessive stress or trauma victims. So what are some of the causes of nightmares? So there are some natural causes. We'll talk about natural causes first. Nightmares caused by anxiety, depression. Medication can cause nightmares. Certain medications. Eating right before you go to bed can cause nightmares. And traumatic experiences, as we mentioned. So when your unconscious mind tries to sort out toxic issues, so if you've had toxic issues in your life, if you've been through some tough experiences in life, some traumatic experiences, your non-conscious mind will try to sort them out, especially the things that happened to you as a child and you couldn't make sense of it. You know, your non-conscious mind will try to sort them out, and it'll be in dreams and nightmares and night terrors. So I mentioned that we forget our dreams. So we forget our dreams on purpose. We forget our dreams, and it's intentional. Our body's designed so that we forget our dreams. So you dream every night, even though you forget it. So one of the reasons is that if we have thoughts, the traumatic thoughts, and we're trying to process them, then, and we maybe suppress them. Maybe there's something that happened to you when you were a child, and it's too painful, and you actually suppress the memory. So every now and then it may pop up, your mind trying to process it, but it's too painful, so your memory will keep it suppressed, and so that's one of the reasons you can forget. You're not ready to face it. Another reason you forget is that it could be something that your mind processed. So your mind is just trying to process something and it finished processing it. So there's no need to cloud up your mind with the memories, and also just not to crowd your brain with real and unreal memories. So you forget your dream memories, so you don't crowd your brain with too many memories. So dreams can be a sign of anxiety or stress. So these are some things that cause dreams. It could be a sign of anxiety or stress. Dreams, another reason for dreams are, they call threat rehearsal. So your mind is practicing for, so say you were in a situation, you got assaulted of some sort. Your mind is simulating so you'll be prepared if it happens again. So your dream, or you're preparing for something that hasn't happened, getting you prepared for it. So it's threat simulation to prepare you for some type of event is one reason you may have nightmares. Threat simulation. Another reason you may have nightmares is misperception. So you may have a misperception. So you may have a misperception of something. You may believe something that's not true. So like maybe you got assaulted as a child and you think it's your fault. Or you got assaulted and so you have a misperception that you believed at the time, and you haven't processed it as an adult. And so your mind, you have nightmares, it keeps coming up. Your mind keeps bringing it up because you have a misperception. It's telling you that you're misunderstanding something. And so it could be we can have misperceptions in life. You know, you may think, you know, everything that happens bad to you is because everyone hates you. Or you may think that different things. So you may have a misperception of your view on the world, and your mind is trying to tell you that you got a misperception, and therefore you keep having these thoughts and dreams, and so to try to get you to process it correctly. So you may be viewing the world wrong, but you don't know that. You know, obviously you're not going to know that you're viewing the world with a misperception. You know, I can think of an example, sort of. It's not really something to have a nightmare about, but just something. Today I was walking. You've been driving, maybe you're on a street that doesn't have a line in the middle, and you're driving, and it's a narrow street, and maybe you and a car, you're coming towards each other, and you're not going to both fit. So you go to the right. You know, you go to the right, and they go to the right, and you just pass each other. But a lot of times when I'm walking on a sidewalk, I'll encounter people that are coming towards me on the right side, and I'm going towards them. And, you know, we may get to a point where eventually somebody's got to move. And I know in other cultures, people from other countries, they drive on the left side. And so you may think, so in our culture, generally, if you're on the right side, same with driving, if you're on the right side walking, then the person who's on the, you know, everybody needs to go to their right. But if you don't realize that that's the culture, then you can come up with other thoughts like, oh, they think I need to get out of the way because I'm a foreigner, or they think they're better than me, or they think I need to get out of the way because they're stronger than me. They think, you know, so you have a misperception. It's like, no, you just don't understand the cultural norms. You know, you're perceiving that is something about you that people are thinking, but like, no, you have a misperception because you don't understand the cultural norms. So your mind could be trying to tell you that, hey, you're misunderstanding something. You're thinking that this is the way the world is happening, but it's not. That's not the case. So that could be a reason you're having nightmares, is that you're misprocessing something, and your subconscious mind is trying to tell you you need to process this correctly. Your thinking is wrong. Any thoughts on that so far? Okay. And so examples of that, some people think, oh, everybody does it, you know, they think they're a victim. Everybody's doing this to me because I'm a this, I'm a that, you know, because of my race, because of my gender, because of my age, because of my height, you know, but it's like there may be other things going on that you're blinded to because of your perception.
Would that be like complex thinking?
Yeah, complex. Yeah, you're sensitive. You're sensitive about something, and it filters you're filtering the world through that sensitivity. So that could be a reason you're having nightmares. Your mind is trying to tell you that you need to process this correctly. Yes, thank you. So children have nightmares. That's something you should pay attention to. Don't just ignore them. If children don't invalidate them. They could be related to some traumatic experience they've had. But a lot of things can be traumatic as a child, because as a child, you're going to process things incorrectly because you don't understand the world. Another reason you could have nightmares, we talked about, you know, the movie situation, is because of what you're focusing on. You know, so if I told you, hey, you know, I had this dream and it was this man chasing me and he had his mask on and he had a knife, and someone might say, oh, that was probably demonic. Then I say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I binge watched Friday the 13th series and fell asleep on it. It's like, okay, that wasn't demonic. That was just natural. That was just normal. So we know that, everyone knows, regardless of, whether you say you think all dreams are demonic or all dreams are from God, we intuitively know that if you're focusing on something and you dream about it, that's natural. It's not a sign from God. It's not a spiritual warfare. If you're focusing on something, you may dream about it. And so if you're focusing on aliens, if you're focusing on demons, and it's the same situation. If you're focusing on that, you may dream about it. So that can be natural. And so your mind is really influenced by what you focus on. So here's I want to show you an example, and I want to get your reactions to it. Example of how your mind is influenced by what you focus on. So I'm going to show you this video, and basically you're going to need to read one word at a time, but listen to what the word is saying, and then tell me if you hear the word changing.
You will only hear the word you are reading.
It's supposed to.
You will only hear the word you are reading.
All right, so now look at the other word.
You will only hear the word you are reading.
All right, did anyone hear the word change? Well, you weren't watching it.
No.
I did, but
I did.
it wasn't the word that I focused on. They were both opposite.
Yeah.
So I was looking at brainstorm and I heard green needle. And then when you swap to look at the other word, I looked at green needle and I heard brainstorm.
Oh, interesting.
I heard both words both times. I read both the green needle and the brainstorm, and I heard both words.
You heard?
Brainstorm and green needle.
Oh, you heard both words. Oh, okay.
Yep. This is brainstorm, but it's very hard to hear it. It's in the low voice.
Oh, okay. Interesting. But yeah, so what you focus on can impact what you perceive. So it's, I was replaying the same video. So it said, so a lot of people will hear, when they focus on one, they focus on the other. And you see a lot of people in the comments say, no, it's just repeating. It's alternating one word to the other. Or no, the first few times it said this, then it changed that. But it was just, the video is just the same video looping. So it wasn't changing what it said. It's what you focus on that changes. So what you focus on can change your perception. And we talked about that a little bit ago. So that can influence nightmares, what you're focusing on. Another thing that can change or that can cause nightmares is trauma. If you've been through some traumatic event, nightmares are common for people who've had trauma. And for people who have trauma, the nightmares usually have a recurring theme. So there's usually the same type of nightmares, because it could be because your unconscious mind is trying to sort out the trauma. It's trying to sort out the thoughts. It's trying to sort out things that are threatening the balance in your head. So your unconscious mind will process things in dreams that it's trying to sort out, that it's trying to process. So things that you experienced that you never really fully processed, your unconscious mind will bring them to you in a dream to try to bring them to your conscious mind for you to process it. And it may do it, a little at a time, but it's bringing it to your conscious mind because you need to process it. So that could be something that clinical help may help with. Obviously prayer. PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, people with PTSD, been in the military or grew up in gang-ridden areas. People have PTSD. 70% of people with PTSD have nightmares. So it's common. They suffer from nightmares, and it's your brain trying to solve problems during your REM sleep, rapid eye movement, solving your emotional problems. Another thing that causes nightmares is, well, not nightmares, vivid dreams. Antidepressants, if you're taking antidepressants, they cause vivid dreams because they suppress your REM sleep. So you don't have as REM sleep as rapid eye movement. It's when you do dream. And so because of that, since you have less of it, when you do it, it's more intense. So antidepressants, they make your dreams more intense because you aren't having as many dreams. It changes your dream cycle. So since you have fewer, they're just more intense, so they're more vivid because it has shorter time to do the processing than it really needs. So medication can influence cause nightmares. And so one of my opinions is that in a lot of situations, the degree of nightmares you have can be related to the degree of the wrong perception you have of the world too as well. All right, any thoughts, any comments on the causes of nightmares? Nope. Okay. All right. So now we'll talk about night terrors. Night terrors. So night terrors are actually different than nightmares. Night terror is something different than nightmares. Night terror, people wake up, you're disoriented, you may be screaming, maybe sweating, you may have your heart racing. Night terrors, when we have traumatic memories, we store them in three places, and I can't remember the three. I know we store them in our brain, in our mind, but we also store the memories in our physical bodies. We store things in our physical bodies, even like sicknesses. So sometimes if a cold comes back, your body will react how it did when you first got it, but you store a memory of it, and your body responds the same way. So sometimes if you have a memory, your body, you may break out in hives, you may start shaking, you may react the same way when the situation happened. That's because the memory is also stored in the cells in your body. But so night terrors, you wake up and your body is reacting to a memory. So nightmares are different than night terrors. So we talked about that there are different phases of sleep. There are 4 different phases. The third phase is the deep sleep. And the last phase is REM, what we call REM, R-E-M, rapid eye movement sleep. So rapid eye movement sleep is a lighter sleep than the deep sleep. So the deep sleep, you get the first part of the night when you sleep, you get deep sleep. And then the last part of the night when you sleep, you have more dreams. You're in rapid eye movement sleep, which is a lighter sleep. So nightmares happen in your dreams. They're in the REM sleep. Night terrors actually happen in the deep sleep. So it will be in the first 2 to 3 hours of you going to sleep. So night terrors are sometimes when people wake up, they're swinging, they're yelling, they're terrified. It's something, children, it's common in children. So it's something that usually happens in the first 2 to 3 hours of sleep. And so it's actually, and people assume, it was a scary dream, but most of the time they don't actually remember the dream. They just assume it must have been a scary dream, but it's not a dream. So night terrors are not necessarily caused by a dream, because in the deep sleep, you don't really have you can have some types of dream, but they're not vivid dreams like you have in REM sleep. But so a lot of times you may be remembering an activity or thinking about something or going through, you may be thinking about maybe a traumatic event or something, and you wake up and terrified, and your body reacts to it in the same way. So it's not a nightmare, it's a night terror, because you're reacting to a memory. You're not reacting to a dream. This is not a scenario that your mind created. So night terrors, when children wake up yelling and screaming, or people, it's not. So this is an involuntary reaction from your nervous system. So it's something, and you feel, the reason that you feel so alarmed is because you were in a deep sleep. You were in a deep sleep, and then you got suddenly woken up out of it. So you're disoriented. You're disoriented. And so night terrors are something that happen in deep sleep, and it's different than a nightmare. And so children commonly have them. And adults have them. And then, people with PTSD, people who've been through trauma have nightmares are common. Okay, let me play a video on night terrors.
So that memory that I had as a child that I didn't understand fully, that was built into my brain and into my body and into my gravitational fields of my mind, was what I was feeling in the night terror. So as it was being processed, as it was being pulled up, and the brain, my mind was trying to clean it up, it was also pulled up in my body and in my brain, so in all three places. So it was such a strong reaction in my body. For some reason, maybe the cleanup was deeper that night, or something, it was a deep clean. And it got stuck inside my body, and my body got stuck in that moment, and I went into a night terror. So the night terror is when the unconscious mind work is activating the very strong response in the body, and we kind of get stuck in the body. And so when we wake up from those, and we wake up and we can get out of them, you can feel terribly frightened after. It's very important to sort of calm down and have someone with you and talk it through, and you might be affected for a few hours after that. So it's really important that you do moments. So that memory that I had as a child that I didn't understand fully, that was
Right. So it's something that can affect you for a while, and it's kind of a normal reaction that the body has. Night terrors. Has anybody had or know anyone that had night terrors? No. Okay. So what causes night terrors? So what are some things that can cause night terrors? So night terrors, it's triggered when something interferes with your sleep. So you're in deep sleep, something interferes with it, and then you get brought out of the deep sleep. So anything that's interfering with your deep sleep can be contributing to these night terrors. So it can be sleep disorder, like sleep apnea. So if you have sleep apnea, I had sleep apnea. I got rid of it during the pandemic. So if you have sleep apnea, snoring, it'll take you out of a deep sleep. And so that can trigger night terrors. Restless leg syndrome, some medication, anxiety, depression, stress, pain, alcohol, sleep deprivation, sleep schedule disruptions, like you're traveling, you're in a different time zone, that could trigger night terrors, and fevers. They can trigger night terrors in adults. So these are some things that trigger it in adults. And some families can have a history of night terrors. So if your parents had night terrors, then you may be more likely to have night terrors. And it's more common in children, and it's more common in females. And here's another video on night terror.
Go to sleep. Normally, your body prepares you to wake up by having fewer and shorter phases of deep sleep until you finally wake up from the lighter stages of sleep. But with night terrors, you abruptly wake up from deep sleep. It's like going from a near coma to being shaken awake. You wake up with a lot of confusion and disorientation. You can wake up screaming, sweating, and your heart racing, almost like you're having a panic attack. This is a central nervous system arousal that is involuntary. It's not a bad reaction to a dream. Remember, before you woke up, you were in a deep sleep, which is a stage of sleep where not much dreaming happens. And I say this because I've heard people say, I have PTSD and it gives me night terrors. You can have both conditions, but the night terrors are not triggered by having an upsetting dream. Go to sleep. Normally, your body prepares you to wake up.
Yeah, so the night terrors aren't generally triggered by a dream. All right. Any thoughts on night terrors? And I'm going to cover how to prevent them. No? Anybody heard of it before? Seen people wake up yelling, screaming, terrified? Movie? No. All right. So what can we do to prevent night terrors?
What causes night terrors? They're common in children and can be due to brain immaturity and not necessarily a sign of a medical problem. But if they persist, you should see a medical professional for an evaluation. In adults, night terrors can be caused by stress, depression, anxiety, sleep apnea, pain, and alcohol. And sleep deprivation can also cause this. What can we do about this? The first thing to do is to make sure you have good sleep hygiene, like going to bed at a regular time each night and limiting food and drink before bed. If you tend to wake up to go to the bathroom during the night, you can help this by not having anything to drink 1 hour before bed and then emptying your bladder just before you go to sleep. Another thing you can do if you have frequent night terrors and they occur around the same time each night, you can have someone wake you up or set your alarm to wake up about 30 minutes beforehand to break the pattern. What causes night terrors? They're common in children and can be due to brain immaturity.
All right, so if you're having night terrors, some things you could do are, go to bed at a regular time. If a lot of issues, especially psychological issues, are related, can be caused if you don't have a regular wake time, you don't wake up at the same time. That can cause issues. So you can go to bed, regulate the time you sleep at a similar time, limit the food you eat and drink. All right, so that's night terrors. So night terrors are not supernatural. Night terrors aren't God or demonic. Night terrors are a natural reaction to something your subconscious mind is doing. Let me see. I'll read something from Focus on Family. It says, you may be right in assuming some cases of night terror can be traced to demonic activity, but we suspect such instances are extremely rare. Most episodes of this nature are caused by a disorder arousal from deep sleep. Night terrors affect 2 to 4% of children, more commonly boys, during the toddler and preschool years. They tend to run in families, and the first episode generally occurs sometimes between the ages of 2 and 4 years. It's always a good idea to pray for a child who suffers from night terrors, but equally important for parents to recognize that the problem is relatively common and easy to understand. The best way to handle it is to remain calm and patiently soothe the child until the disturbance passes. In our view, it's unnecessary alarmist to jump to the conclusion that demons are involved. All right, so that's night terrors. Any thoughts on night terrors? Thoughts, comments? No? Okay. All right, now we'll revisit sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis. Has anybody ever woke up and you couldn't move, or you woke up and you couldn't speak? Has anybody ever had that happen? Had that happen? You wake up, you're trying to wake up and you can't move, you can't speak. Nobody? Nobody's ever had that, huh? You guys awake? You sleeping?
Quiet and working. Quiet as
Okay. So nobody's ever had that. You woke up and you couldn't move. All right.
No, I have not, Michael. Sorry, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yes.
But no,
I haven't.
fortunately.
Well, fortunately, I haven't. That sounds pretty painful and scary.
Yeah.
I woke up feeling like if there was a fire right now, maybe I've not done that one because I thought if there was a fire right now, I wouldn't be able to get out. Or because I felt like I couldn't move. Maybe I could have moved, but I felt like I couldn't move.
You felt like you couldn't move? It's kind of going
So
in.
maybe that's what that was. Maybe it was sleep paralysis.
Okay.
Or if there was an emergency, I would actually do that.
Oh, okay. You dreamed there was a fire. Okay. Okay. Oh, welcome, Alan. How about Alan or Abraham?
Yeah, Alan Abraham.
Hey, welcome, Alan Abraham.
Thank you.
You ever woke up and couldn't move?
No.
Okay.
I never had that experience.
Oh, well, that's good. All right. Well, you guys are all blessed. So, 1/3 of people have experienced it. It's called sleep paralysis. So, sleep paralysis, and I got a lot of information on it. So maybe you'll run into somebody who's having it. But sleep paralysis is a natural occurring phenomenon. So basically, what it is that when you sleep, when you dream, like if you dream you're running or something, your arms don't start moving, and your legs aren't moving in your dream, even though in your brain you're doing it, your body doesn't act out your dream. That's because your body gets paralyzed when you dream. So your body gets paralyzed so that you don't act it out. You don't do the stuff that you're doing in your dream. So your brain is doing it and you see your body, you see yourself doing it, but you're not, acting all the stuff out. That would be pretty rough if you were. But the reason that happens is because your body gets paralyzed. But there's some times where, and then when you wake up, it comes back, you get back, everything gets back connected. But there's some times when it doesn't happen right away. So some people start to wake up, but their body hasn't fully become mobilized yet. It usually only lasts for a few minutes, but it feels like, it happened all night. It usually happened to people under 25. So if you haven't had it yet, you probably won't have it. 1/3 of the population has had it. So this is like a worldwide, all over the world. People, it's a common experience. And it's a common experience in people in all cultures worldwide. A lot of people think that it's supernatural. So this why a lot of people think, it's related to, an alien abduction, or it's a demon, or it's a ghost, or it's a vampire. And so people will think that it's some supernatural thing happening, but it's a natural thing. But during the period when it happens, there's 3 common things. And the interesting thing is that it's people from all different religions, all different parts of the world, in different time periods, hundreds of years ago, 200 years ago, they have the same thing happening. So one thing people say is that they woke up and there was a dark figure, scary figure, 9 feet tall in the corner of their room. They woke up and they saw the dark figure and they couldn't move. And so they figured that was, other people report that there's something sitting on their chest preventing them from moving. You know, and Norwegians, they used to say it was the old hag sitting on your chest, something sitting on their chest. And other people say that they felt like they were being levitated. So like it was a ghost, or, you know, that this is where generally the alien abduction stories come from, this period of time. So they think they're being levitated, like they're being beamed into a spaceship or something. So a lot of people, you know, they say they wake up at 3 a.m., they saw a dark figure in the corner, they couldn't move, they couldn't breathe, they had trouble breathing. And a lot of people have thought that it's an evil spirit, an evil spirit. And so that's a common occurrence. Luckily, many of you haven't had it, but we'll still talk about it in case you run into anybody that does, and for the people watching who have, because if you search the internet, it's like tons of stuff on it, and then YouTube. But another common occurrence that happens in sleep apnea, a lot of people have reported, I think more often women, having sex dreams where they felt like there was an evil creature that came and violated them sexually. And that's a common dream that happens across all cultures. And I debated, should I play this video? No, I won't play the video. But it's a common dream that people have across all cultures. And it's so common that I will just read some excerpt from, there was a study that Oxford did on it. I'll read that. So the cross-cultural reoccurrence theme of strongly suggested sleeping body, waking mind dynamics of sleep paralysis play a generative role in cases of demonic seduction and dreaming. I'll put it up. In many cultures around the world have come to believe that specific demons are responsible for causing sleep paralysis. So incubus and succubus of European folklore, and the old hag of the Newfoundland. So incubus and succubus are like a common cultural. It's not just a particular religion, Christian or something. This is a common. It was even a South Park episode about it. It's a common thing that non-religious people, a lot of people have experienced. Dreams of seductive demons can happen to anyone, but they are most likely to occur to socially and economically marginalized people, especially young women, and to sexually constrained people like ascetic monks. Beliefs about demonic seduction in dreams have a basis in real psychological experience and real biological concerns about potential threats to procreation. These dreams are not simply the products of irrational ignorance, misplaced fears, or religious conditioning, but are instead expressions of innately creative powers of the imagination of sleep prowess shared by all members of our species. So basically it's something that humans across the world are experiencing, and humans across the world are saying that it's an evil spirit or a demonic spirit, depending on what you believe, or some will say it's an alien or something. And it's and it's can be related to sleep paralysis. Are sexual dreams a sin? We will revisit this. Dreams and their details are beyond the volatile control of dreamers, according to Craig Heller's The Secret of Silence. You're not choosing your dreams, nor are you morally culpable for things that you visualize while sleeping. And St. Augustine mentioned that the fact that when you're dreaming, so the rational part of your brain is turned off. So you're doing things that you wouldn't do in your conscious mind. So you can only be held responsible for things you do consciously. So if it's something you're doing unconsciously, you can't be held accountable for it. And I agree with that, but that's debated, obviously. All right, so that's sleep paralysis and sexual dreams. Any thoughts, comments on that so far? Nope. All right. Okay, so now we'll get to the question. Do demons cause nightmares? Do demons cause nightmares? So the interesting thing, the Oxford Dictionary defines nightmares is the first definition is a terrifying, extremely upsetting dream, or figuratively an event or experience resembling such a dream. But the second definition is an evil spirit believed to torment or suffocate believers. So from night in the Old English word mare. So the word nightmare, the word we use in English, nightmare, mare actually means an evil spirit or incubus. So our word nightmare comes from the belief mare is an evil spirit. Nightmare is an evil spirit that attacks you at night. So it's a popular belief. It's not just a Christian belief. It's not just a charismatic Christian belief. It's a popular belief among cultures that nightmares are caused by evil spirits. So many religions, the Muslims speak of jinns. The Christians, others speak of witches that cause nightmares, and so it's a common belief. It's a common belief that demons interact and cause nightmares. So we talked about the fact that what you focus on impacts what you dream about. And so so obviously if you've been involved in occult activity, then you're more likely to have demonic dreams. And I've seen many dreams that people claim to be demonic, but a lot of the dreams, some of the dreams that people claim to be demonic, they talk about something that a demon did, but then the result of the dream is that they turn to God, or the result of the dream is that they stop watching porn, or the result of the dream is something. And it sounds like, well, if it drew you closer to God, was that a demonic dream? Could it have been a demonic dream? Here's an example of that.
So I was addicted to pornography and all this, and I remember there was a season where I decided that I wasn't going to sleep with my girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. I wasn't going to look at things. And I remember one night I had this dream, and in the dream there was this girl, and she came to me in the dream and she was pulling my hand, trying to get me to sleep with her. I ended up yanking my arm and I said no. And as soon as I said no and pulled away from her, I woke up. And I remember seeing this 9-foot dark figure in my room. I really saw it, and it was there. And at first, I thought it was like my dad standing on the couch in the 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what are you doing? But then I went to say something, and I couldn't speak, and I couldn't move. And right then and there, I was like, this is a demonic encounter. And the best way I could explain it, it looked like the Grim Reaper. And it screamed at me, and then it vanished. I just remember thinking, like, the devil is so ticked off that I came back to Jesus. And that was the dumbest thing that the devil ever did, was allow me to see a demon, because it just made me crazier for Jesus. So I was addicted to pornography and all this. And I remember there was a season where
And so David Digger Hernandez tells a story of how a dark 9-foot figure came into his room, and it eventually told him that, and he tried to cast it out and wouldn't leave, but it eventually told him that one of his family members was practicing an occult, and so his grandmother. So a lot of times people talk about these demonic figures doing things, but the result is that it leads them to God. And so here's a video of a belief that nightmares can't come from Satan.
There are 4 biblical reasons why negative dreams, or what you call a nightmare, did not come from the devil. Number 1, God says in Isaiah 55:5, my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are far beyond anything you could imagine. So the first issue is that everyone puts God in a box and says what he can and cannot do. Number 2, some people think that because they have a bad dream or a nightmare, that it couldn't come from God. But in Job 33:16, God said, when it comes to dreams, I at times will terrify you with a dream in order to get your attention. Number 3, hell is a horrific place. In Matthew 25:41, it says that God is the one that created hell, for Satan and his angels. That is much more horrific than a nightmare. Number 4, there are 21 stories of dreams in the Bible. In all 21, there is not even a hint that Satan had the ability to give a dream.
Oops. Oh. Okay, I thought I lost Zoom, but I just lost my document. All right, so there's there's beliefs on both sides, but there's clearly no Bible verse that talks about Satan interacting in dreams. And I know there are a lot of people who've had different experiences that to be demonic, but there isn't any clear evidence that Satan. So that we do have clear verses that said God can impact dreams and will give you dreams that scare you, but there isn't any clear verses that talk about demons interfering with, having the ability to interfere with a Christian's dream. So we know there are natural things that can cause nightmares, and we know that God will sometimes scare you. Is there a possibility that demons can influence your dreams? So demons can influence your dreams in the sense that a lot of times people talk about, you wake up, they talk about sleep paralysis, and you wake up and there's a demonic, people think it's a demon holding them down or demonic. So they say the fact that it's not that the demon is doing that, but that the demon is putting a lie in your mind. So you have the sleep paralysis, so the demon is putting a lie in your mind for you to think that they're the ones doing it, that they're the ones holding you down, that they're the ones doing it. So the demon's putting a lie in your mind. So I do believe that demons can influence your mind, and they can influence you when you're awake, and that could influence what you dream about. So they can cause you when you're awake. They can influence your wake thinking, and as we saw, what you focus on influences what you dream about. But I don't see any evidence that a demon can actually control a believer's mind and cause them to dream a dream. Any thoughts on that? Quite a bunch today. All righty.
Sorry, Michael, what was the question?
Oh, any thoughts on demons influencing your dreams?
Oh no, I have nothing.
Okay.
I don't play with demons or watch scary movies or anything like that, so I cannot relate to that. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Blessed. All right. So now we'll talk about frightening dreams from God. Frightening dreams from God. So we do have examples in the Bible of frightening dreams come from God. We see Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 6 through 12. He has frightening dreams, and those were from God. We see Pharaoh's dream, Genesis 41, the cows eating the other cows and things of that nature. And he was frightened, and that came from God. Pilate's wife in Matthew 27:19 says that she greatly suffered in a dream because of Jesus. So we see examples, and then we saw the Job 33 verse where God says, it says that God, terrifies you in the night to get you away from pride and to basically for correction. And so the dreams, Nebuchadnezzar, Pharaoh, and Pilate's wife, they were foretelling the future. They were frightening dreams, but they foretold the future. So God can use scary dreams to foretell the future. He can warn us in dreams. And who has Matthew 2:21 through 22? This was so he warned Joseph in a dream.
So he got up, took the child and his mother, and went to a land of Israel, But when he heard that parts of the land was ready to his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he was given to his reality.
All right, thank you. So Matthew 2:21-22, it talks about how Joseph, God told him in a dream, warned him not to go back to Judea because Archelaus was there and told him to go to Galilee. So God warned Joseph in a dream. So God can warn you in a dream. That wasn't necessarily a scary dream, but it was a warning in a dream. But he can use scary dreams. And so we looked at the verse in Job that talks about God using scary dreams, but also God, even Abraham, not Alan Abraham, but Father Abraham, God, he had a frightening dream. Who has Genesis 15:12-14?
I got that. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions.
All right. So God was warning Abraham that, this bad thing is going to come to your descendants, but they're going to turn out do better. So he was foretelling the future, but it says that, behold, terror and great darkness fell upon him. So he terror and great darkness. A lot of people say, oh, if it's a dream from God, it'll give you peace. Terror and great darkness isn't peace. So all dreams from God don't give you peace. They can give you terror and great darkness. Terror there is fright, concrete, dread, fear, horror, terror, terrible in the Hebrew. So God can give you terror in dreams. And so there's multiple examples of God giving people terrifying dreams. And so this was warning Abraham of something that he couldn't change. It wasn't warning him saying do something about it. It was just kind of giving him a heads up. This is the future, but it's going to turn out okay. It's part of my plan. So God can use dreams to terrify you, to warn you of the future. God can also uses disturbing dreams to tell you what's going on in your life. So a disturbing dream can be used to point out something that you need to change today, not just in the future. It's something going on right now that you need to change. So sometimes terrifying dreams are warning you that there's something going on in your life that you need to address. Who has Job 33:14-18? Oh, that's Chris.
Yeah. For God does speak now one way, now another, though man may not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, and turn man from wrongdoing and keep him from pride, to preserve his soul from the pit, his life from perishing by the sword.
All right, thank you. So God can, again, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon you in the slumber of your bed, he horrifies you with warnings, terrifies you with warnings. So it's multiple verses talking about the fact that God will terrify you in your dreams in order to warn you of something. And so that something may be something in the future, but it also could be something that's going on in your life right now. So the goal isn't just to scare you. The goal isn't to, hey, I'm going to give you this dream to scare you. The goal is for you to do something now. So you need to figure out what it is that you need to do. The goal, just like Nebuchadnezzar and Pharaoh, they were frightened in their dream, but they knew that it meant, okay, I've got to do something, to the point where, Nebuchadnezzar was like, okay, if you can't figure out what this dream is, I'm going to kill everybody until you figure, he knew it was important. So you need to figure out, what is this dream telling you? You need to change it because it's something important. So they're a revelation. So they can be a revelation of what's going on in your life. We talked about the fact that it can also be your mind processing trauma. It can be what you focused on. But another thing it can be is God giving you a revelation of something you need to address in your life. So it could be, and here's a I guess a charismatic view of that.
God is giving you a revelation of what is happening in the spirit that you're not aware of. You don't enter the spiritual realm when you're sleeping. You get a revelation of the spiritual world when you sleep. Because right now we are in the body. Our spirit is in the spiritual world. If somebody is under demonic bondage, they don't walk around and you see demons. You just see a person struggling. But if somebody has the eyes of the spirit, they will look and they will see something that is trapping this person that people with regular eyes cannot see. But that person only sees this thing when they dream at night. They see the attack, so they say, the devil comes to me at night. No, the devil already got you. But God is showing you in dreams so that you know how to pray so that you come out of it. God is giving you a revelation of what is happening in the spirit that you.
So he's saying that there's some people that they see demons when they dream, but it's not that the demons are attacking them when they dream. The demons are already attacking them, but when you sleep, you're more spiritually aware. So that's the time when you can see them. That's the time when you're conscious of them. And he's saying that it's God showing you that you need to address this issue, or you're having demonic attack, and so you need to address it. You need to address it. So it's being pointed out to you when you dream, because you can't perceive it when you're awake. So if you don't have the discernment to perceive it when you're awake, God can try to communicate it to you in a dream. And here's one more example of him pointing this out to somebody.
Dalen had brought some guys from his youth group years ago, and they came to the studio where I was in. And I was in the room with them, and they were talking about random things. And the angel of the Lord told me that one has been having nightmares because of this and this and this and this and this. So I pointed to him. I said, "You've been having this and this happening, and it's been happening like this, like this, like this." The guy was shocked. I said, "Can I pray for you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You come out of him." The guy stroked. It was creepy. Everyone ran out of the room, and the spirit was taken away because God was trying to let him know, this demon is tormenting you, this demon is following you, this demon is behind your torment. So God deprives you of your rest to reveal to you, because that's a message. Dalen had brought some guys from his youth group. Yep.
So a dream can be God revealing to you something that you need to address in your life. Something you need to address consciously in your waking life. And it can also be, a dream can be your subconscious mind telling you there's something you need to address in your conscious life. All right. And one point I noted was that, you never see in Scripture anyone rebuking dreams or praying against dreams in Scripture. Any comments? Any comments, thoughts? Is it shocking to anybody? Is it? Everybody's like, I got good dreams, so it's not for me.
Well, I guess for me, the recurring dreams, I do feel like it's a message. something that I need to address and probably just face it, you know what I mean, in order for it to pass.
Right.
But I think it's just that point of me being comfortable with it, you know, or just making peace with it.
Oh. So you're saying it's either something you have to do or something you need to just make peace with?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, but the nightmares, I do think, come from a sense of anxiety, things that I have probably had fears over.
Yeah.
And that fear comes up in my sleep, you know?
Yeah.
And then other dreams I do think are a result of like insecurities or something like that. But another dream I have is I have this thing where I don't know, this thing when I have different types of dreams to where I'm looking for something. Like one of the examples is my car. I like my car, and excuse me if this sounds like a little like materialistic, but I might be out somewhere in a dream, and this happens a lot. And then I park my car somewhere, but then I spent the entire time trying to get to the car, trying to find it. Or if it's not that, it's someone else. And so it's like I'm searching for something, you know, or like I'm one, but something that I had and I lost it and now I can't find it. So I've been trying to pinpoint like what's the root cause of that dream.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds, that sounds like it's definitely symbolic. It sounds like it's definitely symbolic.
Yeah.
Of something something you're searching for. And how do you feel when you can't find it? Are you afraid or are you just nonchalant about it?
No, and I'm one that I can't stand when I lose something and I can't find it. I won't let it go until I find it because I'm usually pretty good at keeping things and not losing them. So it's sort of like I feel like I've lost a battle. The question I have is, how come it's always my car?
Well, I don't think it's about your car. I don't think it's about your car, but yeah, I can't discern what it is, but yeah, pray
I
on
do
it.
feel like, man, I'm always losing something, and you know, and I don't lose things regularly. So I don't know. It's just me finding myself in the dreams, and when I wake up from that, it's like I do try to figure out what is it that I'm searching for, and what about I'm afraid to lose. Like something that I value.
Are you searching for your purpose?
Absolutely, every day. Yeah. I don't think I have my purpose in life defined like explicitly. I know God uses me in multiple ways, but I have it narrowed down by saying, this is my one purpose in life, you know?
Right.
It's
Is that troubling that you haven't?
no, I'm walking with, you know, open eyes and clear, you know, open arms, whatever God is providing for me. I'm not, you know, I've surrendered to God. So it's not a fight for me. You know?
Well, that's good. All right. Praise God. Yeah, so I guess take it to God and see if he can reveal it to you, especially if it's recurring.
Yeah, I like the different examples. The tears, I do know a family member has PTSD as a result of going to Afghanistan, so he did the Gulf War. And I've heard him scream in his dream. You know what I mean? Like he's yelling, but he's asleep. He's not.
Yeah.
He didn't wake up to it. We might wake him up out of it. You know.
Yeah.
But PTSD is, like you said, a high percentage of nightmares.
Yeah, 70% of them have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. So let's see. Summarize what we've covered so far. Some sources of nightmares can be God, can be your non-conscious mind or your spirit, can be, you know, those 5 chili dogs you ate right before you went to bed, or some medicine you're taking. You know, we talked about the concept of being demonic. It's causes can also be so you're giving too much attention to something that's frightening. So you're giving too much attention to something frightening, causing you nightmares. You have the wrong perception of something in the world, so you're viewing something wrong and your mind is trying to get you to process it correctly. You need to realistically and objectively process a traumatic event. So maybe you had a childhood trauma that you need to actually consciously process it, bring it up and process it or work through it. It can be God warning you of a future event. It can be that something in your life that you need to address, something going on in your life that you need to address. It can be biochemical, something you ate, medicine, alcohol, or it could be something that's disrupting your sleep pattern. Something is disrupting your sleep pattern. So given all those causes, what are some things we can do about it? If you're having nightmares, what are some things you can do? One thing is to not look at the computers or not look at your phone before you go to sleep. Not look at your phone or computers before you go to sleep. That will, so it's multiple things. That it could be one, if you're looking at news or you're looking at negative, so you're focusing on something. Also, the light can, the blue light can be interfering with your sleep pattern. So a lot of these suggestions are attack multiple of those causes. The second thing you could do is if you've had any involvement in the occult, renounce that and stop, obviously. So psychic readings, and you're dealing with witchcraft, some religions. Eric came in there handing me a Scientology handout.
It was on your mailbox. Signed Tom Cruise.
Any New Age activities, secret societies, Ouija boards. So stop doing that if you want.
Yes.
The other thing is to pray. To pray. Who has Romans 8:26? Romans 8:26.
I have that.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You got them both. Okay.
I'll get it back here.
I could have just left it up, I guess.
So, this is out of the NIV. In the same way, the Spirit helped us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And He who searches our hearts know the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God.
All right. So pray to find the will of God. So if it's something that's struggling you, pray for it. If the Spirit wants to see if it's something God is trying to reveal to you, whatever the scenario is, take it to God in prayer. And the Spirit will help you in prayer. So if you're a tongue prayer, you can pray in tongues. The Spirit to help intercede with you, but the Spirit will help intercede with you regardless, because you have the Spirit with you. But that's one. Take it to God in prayer if you're having nightmares. Take it to God in prayer. And then also Isaiah 38:1-5. Kikwa.
Yeah. All right. 1-5.
So this is, yeah.
In those days, Hezekiah became ill and was at the point of death. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, went to him and said, "This is what the Lord says. Put your house in order, because you are going to die. You will not recover." Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. "Remember, Lord, how have I walked before you faithfully and with wholehearted devotion, and have done what is good in your eyes?" And Hezekiah wept bitterly. Then the word of the Lord came to Isaiah. "Go and tell Hezekiah, this is what the Lord, the God of your father David says. I have heard your prayer and seen your tears. I will add 15 years to your life, and I will deliver you and the city from the hand of the king of Assyria. I will defend this city."
All right. So Isaiah came to Hezekiah, and Isaiah the prophet, the great prophet, told him God has said, he declared the words of God, gave him a prophetic prophecy, told him God said, you're going to die. Hezekiah went that night and prayed to God, prayed, and God changed the prophecy and gave him more years. So we can take it to God. Even if it's a future event, even if it is from God, we can still take it to God. Whatever it is, you can take it to God in prayer. Whatever it is you're asking for, you can take it to God. Even if it is something that a future event that God has showed you in prayer, you can still take that to God. Another thing you could do is fasting. Fasting. Don't eat after 6. Don't eat after 6 if you're having nightmares. Fast. Don't eat after 6, or if you're medically able or something, you can try to skip a day or eating or something. But fast. Don't eat after 6 if you're having nightmares. So fasting, and that hits in a lot of areas. That hits if you think it's spiritual warfare. That hits if it's your stomach problems causing you nightmare. Because what you eat can cause you nightmares. Your mind is influenced by the bacteria in your stomach. So there's a lot of areas that all of these can hit on. So regardless, the prayer, the fasting, so of those, 7 causes, they hit on multiple of them. And then another 2 more. One is I'll go through this quickly. Is a clinical exposure relaxation rescripting therapy. So it's something that you'll need to look on when I post it on the website. You can look at this later, but I'll go over it quickly. It basically the concept is that you have a nightmare and you want to rescript it. You have a recurring dream, a nightmare, recurring pattern that you want to stop having. So you basically write it down, and then you change the narrative, and then you repeat that narrative. You read the new script. So engage in some relaxing activity. So relax. Choose the nightmare you want to address. And if you don't have a specific nightmare, some theme, like you're being chased or you're being trapped or you lost your car. So some theme that recurs, you lost something. Write it out, but write it out with the details. When did it start? When did it end? Who else was there? When did it happen? What were the smell, sound, taste, thoughts that you had during the dream? Were you afraid? Were you afraid? Were you confident? So write down all of the details. It's the next step. Write the details, and then write down what was the worst part of the dream. What was the most frightening part? What was the frightening moment? What did you feel at that moment? And then the next step is to rewrite that moment. So before the most frightening part, rewrite it to what you would want to have happen. So if instead of falling through the trap door, you can change it to, you walked across and got to the fruit tree or whatever happened. So rewrite it to what you would want to happen, and how you want it to feel in that, or how you want it to feel in that situation. You didn't want to feel powerless when that happened. You wanted to feel courageous when the attacker came. So rewrite how you want it to feel in that situation. So change that moment. And now you have the new script. Read it out loud. Read the new script out loud repeatedly. Read it before you go to bed. Read it before you go to bed. And so this is something you can do. And then, so that's something you can do called exposure relaxation rescripting therapy. And then it's a similar version called imagery rehearsal therapy, which is from a Christian website. And basically you're doing a similar thing. It's starting when you're actually coming from the dream, but you want to rewrite the dream, but you want to rewrite it with God in the picture. So if God was there, how would the dream look? How would it look if God was there in the dream? And you do a similar thing. You read it, reread it. So those will be up on the website, and you can look at those or pass those on to anyone having issues. And then lastly, some scriptures for those having nightmares. Psalms 91, the whole of Psalms 91 is good. The song we read, I Will Not Fear, that's actually, so the song that we heard at the beginning, I Will Not Fear, that is from this verse. The song is from Psalms 91, I will not fear. So Psalms 91 is a scripture generally used for nightmares, night terrors, spiritual warfare. Psalms 91. So Psalms 91 is a scripture you can read. You can read also, you can meditate on Psalms 4:8. In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, have me dwell in safely. You can read Jeremiah 31:26. At this I woke and looked, and my sleep had been pleasant to me. 1 John 4:4. You are from God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. Psalms 27:2. When evildoers come upon me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies, they stumbled and fell. So you can read those scriptures, meditate on those scriptures. And that's the lesson. Nightmares and evil dreams. Let's walk in the way. Let's seek the truth and live the life.
Amen.
All right, any thoughts? Any thoughts?
Today felt like a scary movie. Some good stuff though. It's the dark side, right?
Yeah.
Dark side, yeah. Well, you will not fear, and tell you how to not to be afraid of the dark side. Yeah, a lot of people are living through scary stuff constantly. So if you're not, it's a blessing. It's not, especially if people have been through various traumatic events. You know, a lot of people have to sleep with the TV on. They sleep with the TV on because they don't want to. They can't sit. They don't want to sit in quiet because their mind goes to scary things. So if you don't have that, feel blessed. Feel blessed that if you can peacefully sleep. There are a lot of people that can't. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have peaceful sleep, and hopefully this lesson will help enable people to get peaceful sleep.